Amsterdam, the capital of the Netherlands and hometown of Mammoet transport. Here, the idea was born 25 years ago to combine the various heavy lift modes by merging some water and land-orientated family-owned transport companies. Let's not linger over the idea how they combined the different transport modes into their integrated heavy lift philosophy. Let's see what they really did in heavy transport innovation. For instance, the introduction of their ingenious system of self-propelled modular transporters being developed in 1984. This is already the second generation of high-tech SPMTs being manufactured in the south of Germany. Many new features were added, like simplified microprocessors and improved power and traction. Nowadays, the offshore industry is a heavy user of this remarkable transport system. Compared to the old skidding systems and conventional trailers, the SPMT units prove themselves the better option for loading out offshore modules of all types and sizes. A whopping 11,000 metric tons was the weight of this integrated offshore deck destined for the Hydron field on the Norwegian shelf. It was one of the record-breaking loadouts performed by Mammoet Stove in the last few years. Another significant example was the Hibernia project on Newfoundland in Canada. Five large modules were joined together on a finger pier by means of plenty of SPMT wheels. Four of them had to be loaded in from ocean-going barges, and for that reason, detailed ballasting schemes had been worked out. Careful preparation of any transport job, that's Mammoet's hallmark. In the past 5 years, 300,000 tons were moved for the offshore industry in Europe, Canada and the United States. Back to Norway, the land of the midnight sun. Again, it's an offshore project, but there is more to it than SPMTs. Here, a living quarter and a drilling tower were not only transported, but also installed on top of a giant production platform. They used their hydrojack lifting system, which is a good example of the integrated heavy lift facilities within the Mammoet organization. In this particular case, Mammoet were consulted at a very early stage, and together with the client, the right solution was engineered for the installation of the drilling tower. Mammoet's push and pull skidding system took care of the horizontal displacement. Mammoet's ace of trumps lies in its transport engineering. With projects of this size and magnitude, it pays to spend time on the preparation. By the way, this job was only a minor part of the Troll gas project, which must ensure Europe's gas delivery for the coming years. Mammoet is one of the few, if not the only, heavy lift company which can perform a complete integrated heavy transport operation on a worldwide basis by land and by water with its own equipment. A good example is the transportation of this nylon plant from the Philippines to Singapore. A fine-tuned operation between the land organization and the ocean-going equivalent. A major benefit because it eliminates the problems between different transport parties that might arise during the takeover on the quayside. The ramp of Mammoet Shipping's flagship Happy Buccaneer with its width of some 20 meters, was the right tool for the roll-on of the biggest module of the project. Mammoet Shipping operates a fleet of 12 multi-purpose heavy-lift vessels of different types and sizes on a worldwide basis. This is MS Happy Buccaneer, passing the Panama Canal with 2 large container cranes, destination Colón. With her lifting capacity of 1,100 tons total, she's able to assemble the knockdown container cranes at the container terminal. Again, detailed transport engineering was at the basis of this spectacular lifting operation. A new building program has been initiated for a total of 4 project cargo and heavy lift vessels to be delivered in the coming years. From Panama to Japan. At the Showa Yokkaichi refinery, upgrading was going on for which 4 reactor vessels, the heaviest with a weight of 1,100 tons, had to be erected and positioned. It was the first job for Mammoet in Japan with this kind of lifting equipment. A strong point of this hydraulic lifting system is that with relatively small units, huge weights can be lifted. Moreover, the gantry poles don't require a lot of space. They hardly affect accessibility, a major point when working in a confined area like this one. In Saudi Arabia, Alatas Mammoet was at the receiving end of a shipment of 20 large units for a water desalination plant in Al Khobar. Mammoet Shipping's Project Orient had docked at the port of Daman with evaporator vessels, brine heaters and deaerators. They were offloaded using the ship's own gear directly on heavy transport trailers. After transportation to the site, the units were lifted and positioned by a specially designed and built gantry lifting system. Thailand. Until now, we've shown you different modes of heavy transport and heavy lift shipping. However, at the craneage side, Mammoet has lots to offer as well. As you may have noticed, innovation is all to Mammoet, and the M1200R ringer crane is clearly a new design in lifting technology. The nucleus of the ringer system is an M250 crawler crane, which can be used separately before or after ringer use. The 1,300 tons lifting capacity meets today's requirements for the petrochemical industry. Water-right Mammoet from Singapore executed this single lift operation. They have subsidiaries throughout Southeast Asia, Thailand, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Bangladesh, Dubai, and recently also in the Philippines. In Australia, the crane was used as the ultimate construction tool for a new iron-making facility. From one fixed position, the M1200R was able to build up a complete blast furnace. The client's most important criteria for the selection of a lifting system was that the crane should be able to handle the height and weight conditions that had to be met in constructing this furnace. In short, sufficient outreach and capacity at radius were the key words of this operation. Venice, the start of another factory to foundation transport. Mammoet Shipping loaded a radiant syngas cooler, which was ordered for a power plant in the United States. The entire transport operation was coordinated by Davenport Mammoet, the US-based Mammoet branch of the organization. After lashing and securing, MS Project Europe set sail for Port Manatee in Florida, where the SBMTs took over the heavy cargo for further transportation to the site. A route survey was already done at an early stage of the project, so that all difficult points in the route were charted and dealt with. The convoy was escorted by state troopers, and public servicemen headed the procession to lift the overhead wires or detach them if needed. The most spectacular part of the overland transportation was the crossing of Interstate 75. It took only 7 minutes for the bundle to cross the highway, and it hardly affected the flow of traffic on this busy main artery. The Poke Power Plant site is the place where the force of Mammoet Dekkerlift International becomes clear. This new joint venture between Mammoet Transport of Amsterdam and Dekafin of Turin enhanced Mammoet's program greatly at the tail end of the heavy transport chain. "14 large-capacity cranes with outrigger supports were added to the cranes of the ringer type. In this way, greater depth was given to Mammoet's integrated heavy lift philosophy. Sea, land, lifting. When it comes to professionalism in heavy transport, call in the experts. Call in Mammoet. On February 4th, 1992, the Norwegian Parliament gave the green light for the construction of a methanol plant at Tjelbergodden. With an annual output of more than 800,000 tons, it will provide roughly 13% of Western European consumption.
Taking the fact that it's a remote location where you have to bring in all kinds of services and people and establish everything at site, and you have a lot of logistics to work around. It was laid out in the contract strategy to use modular concept.
Engineering company Fluor Daniel was awarded the contract on March 14th of 1994 by Statoil. It was defined that the methanol plant was to be built modular-wise.
On this project, we knew that we were going to be involved with quite large modules. We knew that we were going to be involved with quite large pieces of equipment, columns, pressure vessels, furnaces, that sort of thing. So right from the outset, we had quite a good idea of what would be the scope of a transport and heavy lift contract. The basis for selection of a heavy lift and transport company is largely one of competence, as well as price, of course. I mean, this is a commercial venture for everyone, and price plays a considerable role. But we evaluated a number of transport and heavy lift contractors.
We then received the inquiry document from Statoil. In this document, there are the conditions of contract, the administration requirements, details connected with the PARs and PAUs, and then after receiving this, we then went ahead and produced our tender document here.
A huge amount of modules, pipe racks, process vessels, boilers, heaters and coal boxes scattered all over Europe had to be collected and delivered within a time span of 10 months.
The reason Mammoet was chosen was because we believed that they offered the project the best in terms of the combination, price, competence, experience, equipment, organisation and so on.
On August 15th, 1995, Mammoet finished the transport engineering preparations and started the mobilization for the actual shipping, transport and lifting operations.
One of the interesting pieces on this project was the cold box, which we had to collect in Immingham. Before we actually could take it out of the yard of Chefs, the fabricator, we had to cross 2 bridges, and right after that bridge we had a railway line, and we had to coordinate this crossing, of course, with British Rail. After that, a couple of very restricted turns had to be negotiated, for which we had to take out quite some road furniture. The Happy Buccaneer was waiting outside the locks of Immingham, as it is too wide to go inside himself. We therefore had to use a barge, which brought the coal box from the quayside through the locks to alongside the Buccaneer.
Mammoet Shipping owns a fleet of 12 multi-purpose heavy lift vessels of different types and sizes, which are operated on a worldwide basis.
Well, we choose the Happy Buccaneer because of the cargo particulars, the dimensions, the weight of the cargo, and also the requirements to load some cargo pieces, spaces roll on, roll off, and other spaces lift on, lift off. And also the schedule involved, and that's how it became quite evident that we had to utilize the Happy Buccaneer as the best option to transport this cargo.
MS Happy Buccaneer has a total lifting capacity of 1,100 tons, an easily accessible 12-meter wide roll-on, roll-off ramp, and a central port control room for the lifting and ballasting operations. On September 8th of 1995, the Happy Buccaneer set sail for Chelbagodden, with all cargo built by BOC in Immingham.
One of the most important aspects of the transport and heavy lift contract is the planning aspect. The planning aspect from Mammoet Transport's point of view is to produce a contract master schedule. This is our contract master schedule. This is an overall picture of the transport and installation project from start to finish. This, without question, is the most important part of the THLC contract. This programme is then passed on to fabrication companies and vendor companies. The reason I say it is so important is because the client, the fabricators and the vendors then have to meet this schedule.
In an early stage of the project, Mammoet had already decided to use their high-spec self-propelled modular transporters, the SPMTs, for transporting the modules and pipe racks. The final part of the integrated transport chain, the erection and positioning of the heavy columns on site, was carried out by heavy cranes in different configurations.
I couldn't see the camera.
Fleur Daniel has recognized the importance of the modular construction concept. The question that arises is why modular construction is winning ground.
Principally, it is to avoid the costs of construction on a remote site, such as this one, where we would have to import a huge labour force to do the construction on a stick-built basis, and the added length of time.
The fabricators were selected in terms of competence, fast delivery and price. For instance, 6 process columns were built by Duro Velguera and came from the port of Gijón in Spain. They weigh over 450 tons each and are over 60 meters long. With all the different fabricators involved, the need for strict quality control during manufacture was evident, with all the parts and pieces coming together at Chelbergodden. Mammoet had the means of lifting and transportation for installation with millimeter accuracy.
Many changes occurred during the project execution, and because Mammoet shipping were very flexible, we could accommodate those changes without too many differences or too many hardships occurring to the company. This worked to our favour.
The pre-assembled units and pipe racks were manufactured at different construction yards in Norway. A total number of 21 modules and pipe racks were shuttled by Mammoet Shipping's Happy Buccaneer at the right time and in the right order. As there was hardly any storage area available at the makeshift location in Chelbergodden, the connecting land transportation and craneage had to be carried out on a strict and tight schedule. Mammoet's self-propelled modular transporters were a perfect match for the confined construction area. The SPMT's capabilities made the before and after transport a very efficient job.
Our approach on this project was actually we will leave a fixed set of these SPMTs in Chelbergodden on site, and we use a second set on the Happy Buccaneer as a ship's equipment, and we actually use those trailers in all these different ports to collect the cargo.
Happy Buccaneer connected the various ports of loading and Chelbergodden in a very well-programmed shuttle service.
The heaviest module on the project was the primary reformer that was built in the port of Magera, Italy. It was designed by a company called Kirchner, constructed by a company called Sears, and brought here by Mammoet Shipping. To undertake the actual transportation from the jetty to the foundations, we used 56 axles.
Mammoet is specialized in moving not only large and voluminous units, but also in handling delicate and fragile cargo. With a lot of critical brickwork inside the 1,400-ton primary reformer, this complete building represented the heaviest part in the project to be moved and was quite vulnerable in regard to shocks and vibrations.
We are actually the safest construction site in Norway. There's always room for improvement, and we are continually striving for improvement. But generally speaking, the contractors have responded well to the requirements that we've put on them for safety. Each month, we make an award to the safest contractor on the site, and I'm happy to say that for May, that award was won by Mammoet.
In a 10-month construction period, we've managed to install 95 units, total weight of 55,000 tonnes. Building moved from Italy, Spain, France, England, Norway and Denmark.
The Tjelbergodden project actually showed that, the way Mammoet handled it was that the integrated services as we can offer it to the client has worked as a real door-to-door service.
I think the most difficult job that we had between us was to organise the shipment of materials in the most economic way possible for the benefit of the project. By and large, I think we did quite a reasonable job on that between us, and I think that the planning effort that went into that was well done.
The last piece came in this 1st of June, so really there has been about 6 months with very hard work on Mammoet's side, and we are extremely satisfied with the way the work has been executed.
By moving this methanol plant to Tjelbergodden the modular way, Mammoet again managed to prove its supremacy in the heavy lift market. Man and material worked in perfect harmony to further improve on the quality of heavy lift services needed for an ever-changing world.
Kalau kita jangan korek sini lah, kita korek sini.有钱赚完，目的是赚，我们目的是，hello， ，OK， Bu啊，可以帮忙谈一下吗？Saya datang sekarang. Saya ingat 10:30 kita sudah sampai sana lah. Ya?
Malacca, August 1996. Months of painstaking preparations have preceded a major event about to happen any moment now. K&M Steel Construction has built 2 huge liquefied petroleum gas storage tanks for client Petronas. As the K&M workshop is located at a considerable distance from the coast, one of the most comprehensive transport operations in Malaysia will be carried out to get these tanks shipped to their final destination. As a rule, Walter Wright Mammoet is working in close cooperation with the client to investigate in detail all the ins and outs of such a transport operation. safety is a prime concern for Mammoet. The transport manager underlines once again everyone's responsibilities and tasks during the operation.
You will walk on the front.
30 meters of self-propelled modular transporters, in short SPMTs, are mobilized in a double 22-axle line configuration. Mammoet are the innovators of this ingenious heavy transport system, also known as high-spec trailers. They differ from conventional trailer systems because of their independent propulsion system and unlimited computer-aided steering capabilities. The trailer's inbuilt hydraulic system conveniently lifts the gas tank from its supporting points without the use of any auxiliary equipment. By raising the loading surface from its minimum height of 1.20 meters, the cargo is taken over gradually and without torsion. Lots of road furniture has to be removed, lampposts disconnected and brought down. A special contractor was chosen for this elaborate task. In the afternoon of August 11th, 1996, 537 metric tons of solid steel with a length of 51 meters and a diameter of 8 meters is set into motion for its once-in-a-lifetime journey. The second, identical LPG tank is still being tested and will follow soon. This is as far as a transport will go today. A 12-hour journey is calculated, so the official start is planned early tomorrow morning. The route, with a length of 20 kilometers, consists of narrow, mainly low-quality grade 30 and sometimes grade 60 roads. Inclinations of up to 7% must be conquered and a kampong area crossed. At certain points, trenches will have to be secured. A subcontractor takes care of this problem by filling them with rubble. All contacts with the local authorities for the required permits were handled by Walter Wright Mammoet in Kuala Lumpur. 90 telephone and electricity cables, 144 lampposts, traffic lights and signs were on the list of the objects to be removed. An ocean-going barge was mobilized from Singapore, Walter Wright Mammoet's home base, for the connecting sea journey to East Malaysia, carrying auxiliary equipment like roll-on roll-off ramps, ballast pumps, jacks, plates and steel supports. A separate meeting was held the night before to run through the roll-on operation.
The pilot, assistant pilot, was the pilot, our agents, my colleague from Kuala Lumpur, my other colleague from Kuala Lumpur, and myself. I'm from the Netherlands, by the way.
At the crack of dawn, everyone involved gathers, including the local police. Roadblocks are set up. 20 kilometers of mainly grade C road lie ahead.
Gerakan Melaka Tengah, dari Melaka Tengah. Okey, everything ready ya. Jadi, satu, tiga sebelah, tiga sana sebelah. Ya. Awak semua ya. Okeylah.
The Colossus claims its supremacy over the road now. No room is left for other road users, and all day long, this gas tank will represent an enormous obstacle, and it wants to be treated with respect. With an average speed of just 2 kilometers per hour, it will take approximately 12 hours to reach the pontoon. But the traffic flow is like a water stream. Every once in a while, the convoy is stopped to allow traffic to pass. For a short period, the village's electricity and telephones are cut off. The weather causes some concern when the transport nears a high-power electricity cable. Luckily, the rain stops in time. In the last 4 weeks, the sea current has swept a meter of sand on the beach. To cope with the height difference between the barge and the makeshift quay, extra filling material is brought in. As a final preparation, steel plates are laid on the roll-on, roll-off ramp. The barge is now ready to receive the gas tanks. Compared to the conventional type of platform trailers, Mammoet's SPMTs obviously were the best choice. Using 60-ton prime movers in this situation surely would have caused a lot of damage to the road. This SPMT configuration has perfect load spread characteristics, and by using the trailer's hydraulic system, the camber of the road could be compensated easily. Definitely a close shave. However, one little push was enough to convince this pole to give way. Over 60 people were busy all day, in front and behind of this moving gas tank, removing and reinstalling the road furniture. Finally, the barge comes into view. Everything is prepared for a fast and smooth roll-on operation. The pontoon is safely secured with mooring cables and the ballast tanks are filled with water to keep the barge in position. The multi-axle propulsion of the SPMTs makes it all look easy. And back to collect the second LPG tank. In approximately 2 weeks, the barge was towed to East Malaysia. Severe weather conditions hampered the towage, and for safety reasons, it was decided to take the South Passage. At Tawau, the foundations were prepared for the final touchdown. Only a short distance now from the barge to the site. After removing the SPMTs, the tanks were jacked down. Joined again, the LPG tanks can soon be put into service. A considerable storage capacity has been added for the ever-growing need for LPG in Malaysia.
Mammoet are the recognized specialists in heavy transport. Over the years, they have built up an excellent reputation in moving heavy loads. They are known for their safe and reliable transport methods. What is their secret behind it? Actually, there is no secret. It is a high-tech transport system, the Self-Propelled Modular Transporter, abbreviated usually to SPMT, but also known as high-spec trailers. Mammoet initiated this transport system, which is a huge improvement on conventional tractor and trailer combinations. The creation of the original SPMT was worked out in cooperation with Schürrle in Germany. Using the experience thus gained, Schürrle were able to develop a second generation of transporter, which was also built at Feidelbach. Many improvements were added to the system. For instance, simplified microprocessors and improved power and traction. Each unit has a 22-ton pulling force tractive power. Mobilization takes a minimum of manpower and time. Separate power packs and steering cabins can be attached to suit varying requirements. The basic system comprises 4 and 6 axle line units, which can be joined together in a variety of configurations. The 4 axle line units have a payload capacity of 120 tons. The 6 axle line units, a payload capacity of 180 tons. The hydraulic hoses are easily connected via quick-fitting couplings. Like a giant mechano system, everything fits together. The maximum carrying capacity? It depends on what the client wants. Basically, anything goes. All wheels steer fully under load through 360 degrees, enabling the vehicle to drive forwards, backwards, sideways, diagonally, through a radius, and even carousel. All functions are operated and controlled by a single operator, working from one central panel, irrespective of the number of axle lines involved. The system has a proven record of performance and is recognized as a secure and effective way of moving and positioning heavy loads. The loading surface can be adjusted from 1200 to 1800 millimeters height, so that the load can be uplifted and set down onto supports without the use of auxiliary equipment. Moreover, the hydraulic suspension compensates for cambered road surfaces, allowing the load to be kept level under all circumstances. To avoid torsion of the load, the SPMT's hydraulic suspension system keeps the support points in one plane. The wheels adjust themselves automatically to any undulation in the road surface, or, in the case of roll-on, roll-off operation, ramp gradients. The SPMT's potential can be fully exploited in that all maneuvers can be carried out under full payload, with absolute precision. This gives a new dimension to modular fabrication. Accurate positioning is the system's hallmark. With a maximum dead weight of 24 tons and dimensions of 8.40 by 2.43 by 1.20 meters per unit, the SPMT is easily shipped, even stacked too high. It can be rolled on and rolled off on its own wheels. For transportation by road over large distances, the SPMT units can be moved on top of flatbed trailers. As an added advantage, the dimensions also allow for stowage in an open-top container. Engineering and construction companies have recognized this innovative transport system as state-of-the-art. A mere 1 million tons have already been moved safely and reliably by Mammoet. Meticulous preparation and the strong support of Mammoet engineering result in new tailor-made solutions for heavy transport, now and in the future.